10 skills you have to know. First one, learning motor skills. Welcome to Huberman Lab Essentials, where we highlight key takeaways from previous episodes, delivering powerful, research-backed methods for boosting mental and physical health, as well as performance. I'm Andrew Huberman, a neurobiology and ophthalmology professor at Stanford School of Medicine. Though this podcast operates independently of my university roles, it reflects my mission to share free, science-driven tools with everyone. Today, we'll zero in on skill acquisition, specifically how to master motor skills faster. Whether you're into dance, yoga, sports like swimming or running, or refining precise movements, this episode is for you. We'll break down proven techniques from neuroscience to help you learn quicker, retain skills longer, and progress efficiently with minimal wasted effort. Expect actionable strategies, all grounded in peer-reviewed studies, to help you accelerate your skill development. Let's dive into the science of skill development. Second, building new skills, tools, open versus closed loop. Focus skills can range from activities like perfecting a golf swing, practicing a tennis stroke, shooting free throws, learning to dance, or playing a musical instrument. The focus here is primarily on improving physical performance. There are two main types of skills, open loop and closed loop. Open loop skills involve performing a physical action and then waiting for immediate feedback to determine if it was done correctly. For example, throwing darts at a dartboard is open loop. After throwing the dart, you instantly see whether you hit the bullseye or not. Closed loop skills, on the other hand, are more continuous. Take running as an example. When doing sprints or speed drills, you can feel whether your technique is correct as you go. You might even have a coach providing real-time adjustments to your stride, posture, or pace. Closed-loop skills allow for ongoing corrections during the activity itself. Motor skill development consists of three key elements: sensory perception, understanding what you're doing and what's happening around you; physical movements, the actual actions; and proprioception, the awareness of where your limbs are in relation to your body. Proprioception is often referred to as a sixth sense because it helps you intuitively know your body's position without needing to look. When learning any skill, it's important to determine whether it's open loop or closed loop and decide where to direct your attention. Should you focus on sounds, visuals, or proprioception? For example, if you're learning a golf swing or tango dancing, you might choose to concentrate on your partner's movements, the placement of your feet, or the posture of your body. Allocating your attention effectively is crucial for faster learning. Ultimately, mastering any skill comes down to understanding its type, open loop or closed loop, deciding where to focus during practice, and allowing your brain and body to AI. Third, skills and realistic expectations, Super Mario effect. Having realistic expectations about learning is essential. Somewhere along the way, the idea of instant skill mastery became popular, perhaps inspired by Hollywood, where people suddenly acquire abilities through a magic pill or shortcut. While entertaining, this notion simply isn't grounded in reality. Similarly, the widely popularized 10-0-0-0-hour rule suggests that mastery requires a fixed amount of time, but this concept doesn't fully align with scientific findings either. While it does emphasize that learning takes time, it overlooks a key factor. It's not about hours, but about the number of repetitions. Repetitions are the true foundation of skill development. Of course, time and repetitions are connected, but research shows that by adjusting your focus during practice and increasing motivation, you can significantly speed up the learning process. A fascinating experiment illustrates this concept. Participants were tasked with organizing commands to guide a cursor through a maze. The commands were simple instructions like move forward or turn right, and participants had to arrange them in the correct order to navigate the maze successfully. The study divided participants into two groups. In one group, when participants made an error, they received feedback saying, "That did not work. Please try again." In the other group, participants were told they had lost 5 points whenever they made a mistake. Interestingly, the results revealed something unexpected. Those who received encouraging feedback, "That did not work. Please try again," achieved a much higher success rate than those who were penalized with point deductions. The difference lay in how the two groups responded to failure. The first group kept trying repeatedly, making far more attempts within the same amount of time. On the other hand, those who faced point deductions tended to give up sooner or stopped altogether. This highlights an MP. 4. Tube test and brain, tool, increase repetitions. This concept challenges many common beliefs from popular culture and self-help ideas, such as the notion that people are more motivated to avoid losses than to pursue gains. However, it aligns well with findings from neuroscience research. One experiment that illustrates this is known as the tube test. In this experiment, 2 rats or mice are placed in a narrow tube. Since neither animal likes sharing the space, they begin pushing against each other to claim dominance. Eventually, one of them forces the other out of the tube. The victorious animal is then paired with a new opponent, and researchers observe that the initial winner has a significantly higher chance of winning again. This suggests that success in one instance increases the likelihood of future success. Further studies have identified a specific area in the brain responsible for this behavior, a region within the prefrontal cortex. When researchers stimulated or suppressed activity in this area, they found that increasing its activity caused any mouse or rat, regardless of its prior outcomes, to consistently emerge victorious. On the other hand, reducing activity in this brain region diminished their chances of winning. The key takeaway from these findings is not about brute force or sheer determination, but rather about effort and repetition. Animals with stimulated brain regions demonstrated more frequent attempts and consistent forward movements within a given time frame. Conversely, those with reduced brain activity made fewer attempts and exerted less effort overall. This ties back to learning and skill acquisition. The tube test, along with other experiments like the Super Mario effect, highlights an important principle. Mastering a skill is not about spending countless hours or relying on shortcuts. It's about maximizing repetitions within a given period. When learning something new, success often comes from repeated attempts, even if mistakes are a 5 importance of errors, framing effect, neuroplasticity. Repetitions are crucial for learning, but making mistakes during those repetitions is equally, if not more, important. Let's explore why errors play such a vital role in the learning process. When you're trying to master a skill, whether it's open loop or closed loop, knowing where to direct your attention can feel overwhelming. However, mistakes naturally guide your focus to what needs improvement. Errors act as signals for your nervous system, indicating that something isn't working and needs adjustment. They trigger 2 critical processes: error correction and the activation of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to adapt and change. For example, if you're learning to dance and keep stepping on your partner's toes or missing the rhythm, those mistakes are actually opening the door for your brain to rewire itself and improve. Walking away at that moment would be counterproductive, because without errors, the brain doesn't receive the cues it needs to make changes. Mistakes engage specific areas of the brain, particularly those involved in higher-level thinking and decision-making. They also activate key chemicals like dopamine, acetylcholine, and adrenaline, which are essential for learning and adaptation. These signals tell your brain that something went wrong and create an opportunity for improvement by highlighting what's important. This process is not about motivation or simply pushing yourself harder. It's about how learning actually happens. The most effective way to learn is to set aside dedicated time for practice and aim to complete as many repetitions as possible while staying safe. Within that practice session, making errors is not just inevitable, it's necessary. Mistakes help refine your focus on the sensory details that matter most for improvement. The key takeaway is that failure isn't just a stepping stone, it's a requirement for growth. Failing repeatedly during a single practice session all EKBs. 6. Learning Session Protocol Tool, Idle Time Post-Learning. To accelerate skill acquisition and retention, science suggests a specific sequence for learning sessions. This approach involves maximizing repetitions during practice, paying attention to mistakes, and acknowledging successes. These successes trigger neurochemical rewards that reinforce correct movements. Interestingly, what you do immediately after your practice session is crucial. The recommended action is, surprisingly, to do nothing at all. By allowing yourself a brief period of rest, even just 5-10 minutes after training, you give your brain the opportunity to replay and consolidate the correct motor sequences while discarding the incorrect ones. This mental rehearsal, which happens unconsciously, appears to be vital for faster skill development. As you progress from novice to expert in any skill, your goal is to reduce uncertainty. Your nervous system works to eliminate errors and refine the correct movement patterns. By combining numerous repetitions with this post-practice idle time, you create ideal conditions for accelerated learning. It's important to avoid distractions like checking your phone or immediately switching to another task during this period, as it may interfere with the brain's consolidation process. Once you've become familiar with a skill and are consistently improving, you can start to direct your attention more deliberately. While we often hear about breaking skills down into smaller parts, one of the biggest challenges is knowing where to focus your attention. In the early stages of learning, the key is to make many attempts, allow errors to happen, and let the natural reward process guide your improvement. As you progress and incorporate more practice sessions, you'll start to gain proficiency. At this point, you can begin to focus your attention on specific aspects of the movement, independent of external feedback. For example, in throwing darts, you might concentrate on Yawao 7, movement speed ultra-slow movements. You might be curious about whether performing movements in slow motion can help you learn skills faster. Research suggests that ultra-slow movements can indeed enhance skill development, but only after a certain level of proficiency has been achieved. This might seem counterintuitive at first. For example, when learning a proper kick or punch in martial arts, it might seem logical to start with slow movements and gradually increase speed. However, studies indicate that this approach is not effective for beginners. There are two main reasons why ultra-slow movements aren't ideal during the initial stages of learning. First, slow movements fail to provide accurate proprioceptive feedback, the body's sense of limb position and movement, which is essential for coordinating fast motions. The sensations experienced during slow movements differ significantly from those during faster ones, making it harder to develop the correct feedback loop. Second, slow movements don't generate enough errors, which are crucial for triggering the brain's neuroplasticity and guiding improvement. Ultra-slow movements can be beneficial once you've reached a success rate of around 20 to 30% in your practice. At this point, they can help refine your technique and improve precision. However, if your accuracy is still very low, around 5 to 10%, slow motion practice is unlikely to be helpful because it doesn't address the fundamental errors that need correcting. It's also worth noting that ultra-slow movements aren't practical for every skill. For instance, trying to throw a dart in slow motion wouldn't work. The dart would simply drop to the ground. That said, if you already have a decent level of proficiency in a skill, incorporating slow motion practice can be an effective way to fine-tune your movements and improve overall performance. 8. Skill proficiency and errors. Tool. Metronoming. If you've reached an intermediate or advanced level in a sport, skill, or musical instrument, there's an intriguing method supported by research that involves using a metronome. This technique ties directly to increasing repetitions and improving performance. By setting a rhythm with a metronome, athletes and performers often find they can execute more repetitions, enhance their speed, and achieve greater output during practice. One fascinating example of this can be seen in competitive cup stacking. Expert cup stackers are able to build perfect pyramids of cups in record time, showcasing incredible precision. Watching their performances reveals that success in this activity is largely about eliminating errors. Interestingly, auditory cues like a metronome can help these individuals pick up and stack cups faster than they normally would, aiding their skill development. What makes this approach particularly effective is that it shifts your focus away from the mechanics of your movements and onto the rhythmic tones of the metronome. By anchoring your attention to the external sound rather than your physical actions, you create an external challenge or pressure that encourages faster repetitions and more frequent errors. These errors are essential for learning because they trigger neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to adapt and improve. This method works best for individuals who already have some level of proficiency in their skill. The consistent beat of the metronome acts as an external force that drives you to perform at a faster pace than you might otherwise. For reasons not yet fully understood, syncing your movements to the steady rhythm of a metronome appears to enhance skill acquisition and accelerate progress beyond what would be achieved through regular practice alone. By incorporating this external cue into your training, you not only increase the number of repetitions, but also amplify the rate at which you weigh 9 mental rehearsal and limits. Tool, visualization. Mental rehearsal is a topic that often sparks curiosity, especially when people wonder if simply visualizing a skill can help them learn faster. The answer is yes, it can be effective, but it's important to understand that mental practice is not a substitute for physical performance. While visualization can enhance training, it cannot fully replace the benefits of actually performing the skill. There's a common misconception that imagining muscle contractions or visualizing movements can produce the same results as physically executing them. However, this isn't accurate. Visualization can complement physical training, but it doesn't deliver identical outcomes. When you mentally rehearse a sequence of movements, such as closing your eyes and picturing yourself performing an action, it activates the upper motor neurons in your brain. These neurons are responsible for generating the command for movement, but they don't execute the movement itself. Actual execution involves lower motor neurons and central pattern generators, which are essential for carrying out physical actions. While visualization stimulates the brain in ways similar to actual movement, it lacks the proprioceptive feedback, the sensory information about limb position and movement that is crucial for learning and refining skills. This feedback plays a key role in creating a sense of the experience and driving improvement. To be clear, visualization is a valuable tool for skill development. It can help reinforce motor commands and enhance focus, but it doesn't create the same chemical environment or neurological adaptations as physically engaging in the activity. For example, resistance training or practicing a skill generates specific neurochemical responses that visualization alone cannot replicate. If you're looking to maximize your learning, combining mental rehearsal with physical practice is the most effective approach. Visualization works best as a SU. 10. Skill learning and supplements, alpha-GPC, caffeine. Creating the right conditions for effective training is essential, and motivation plays a central role. To make the most of your practice sessions, you need to arrive focused and ready to complete numerous repetitions. There's no shortcut or magic pill that will allow you to learn more while doing less. It's all about setting up an environment that enables you to maximize repetitions within a given time frame. The key question is, what mental and physical conditions can you create to help yourself stay focused and perform at your best? While motivation is the foundation, there are certain supplements that can enhance physical performance and cognitive function, particularly for older individuals. One compound worth mentioning is alpha-GPC, alpha-glycerylphosphorylcholine. This supplement has been shown to improve power output, making it potentially beneficial for activities like resistance training or sprinting. Studies have demonstrated that alpha-GPC can increase power output by approximately 14%, which is a significant boost, though not an extreme change. When combined with low doses of caffeine, alpha-GPC may also support fat burning, growth hormone release, and overall physical performance. These effects provide a stronger foundation for completing the high number of repetitions needed for skill acquisition. Caffeine itself can also play a role in enhancing focus and motivation. If caffeine helps you get energized and ready to train, it can indirectly improve your ability to learn and retain new skills. However, timing is crucial. Consuming caffeine too close to bedtime can disrupt sleep, which is vital for recovery and consolidation of learning. For physical skill development, supplements like alpha-GPC or caffeine are best taken before training sessions to ensure their effects carry through your practice. Unlike cognitive learning, where adrenaline spikes after studying may be beneficial, physical learning recap and key takeaways. Repetition and mistakes are essential components of learning, especially in the early stages of skill development. After practice, allowing your brain some time to rest is equally important. This idle period can involve simply sitting or lying down quietly with your eyes closed for 5 to 10 minutes. During this time, avoid distractions like social media, emails, or conversations, as the brain uses this quiet moment to replay motor sequences and reinforce learning. Incorporating tools like a metronome can also be highly effective. By syncing your movements to an external auditory cue, you can increase the number of repetitions within a given time frame. This method helps focus your attention and encourages consistent practice, which is key to improving skills. For those who have limited time to train, even 10 minutes of focused practice with maximum repetitions and effort can yield significant results. The quality and density of your training matter more than the duration. Aim for high repetition rates and don't shy away from safe mistakes. They are crucial for accelerating progress. Skill improvement often happens in bursts rather than in a perfectly linear fashion. You may experience periods of rapid advancement followed by slower progress, but consistent effort will lead to remarkable growth over time. Whether you're designing a training routine for yourself or guiding others, focusing on repetition density and minimizing distractions during idle periods will optimize skill development. By applying these strategies, repetition, embracing errors, rest periods, and external cues, you'll see noticeable improvements in your abilities. Skill learning is a gradual process that rewards dedication and thoughtful practice.